Perils of Penelope. What was interesting about this episode is that it wasn't your straightforward big disaster, big crisis, international rescue must go and save it. This one is one of those few Thunderbirds episodes that followed a kind of industrial espionage, film noir, spy kind of genre. It basically follows these two scientists who have come up with this formula, an experimental formula, that turns seawater into rocket fuel, but they're still tinkering with it, so in the wrong hands, it could mean disastrous effects for the environment and the seawater. And so Lady Penelope is called in to help when one of the scientists goes missing, and it's basically a big mystery to find out where this scientist has ended up.
We forgot also how intense it is, and it kind of keeps you hooked, wondering where these characters are or what's going to happen next as it goes on. Because we noticed the music in some of the most intense moments gets really, really jittery, and you're almost on the edge of your seat. Now I kind of got a load of memories of enjoying this as a kid and feeling, oh, what's going to happen next? Because having watched these about 10 years ago last time, it's you kind of wonder, oh, what's going to happen next, or how is this story going to pan out?
That was always one of the great things about Thunderbirds, the soundtrack, because they had a full orchestra. I imagine that's where most of the budget, well, not most, but a lot of the budget went towards the orchestra. I liked the setting in this episode. They go all over the place. They go to Paris, obviously, and there's all this architecture, and then a great deal of the story takes place on the train as well, that's going through this, I imagine, European cliffside.
It's kind of like they go into the Alps, and we must note it's a monorail, because supposedly monorail means the future.
Jerry Anderson likes using monorails, you'll find. In a lot of Thunderbirds episodes, I think there's a few Captain Scarlet and Stingray episodes as well, that use the monorail. So he likes his trains, as any Englishman would.
But I think he probably has. He may have liked Japanese engineering, because the monorail is a Japanese invention. I think Tokyo was one of the first places to have it. And
oh yeah.
There's a lot of as you've noticed in the Tracy house, there's a lot of Japanese art and architecture around, and they've got a Japanese like maid, Tintin or so. So I think maybe the creators of Thunderbirds or so must have had a liking for Japan or something. Maybe they thought Asia would become more and more influential in the future, but we digress.
We shall see. But it's a very tense episode as well. There's a scene where they're looking over some books in the basement, and then one of the people who kidnapped the scientist, the main villain of this episode, locks them in there and starts pumping gas into the room. Very tense moment. There's some rather tense moments on the train where it kind of reminiscent of Murder on the Orient Express. Yeah, Murder on the Orient Express.
By Agatha Christie, which features Hercule Poirot.
Where they're walking around, Lady Penelope and her companion, one of the other scientists, are walking around the train in the middle of the night. She's got her gun out and she's looking around. Very creepy, on-edge stuff.
Yes, there isn't actually a call for help or anything. This is international rescue helping its own.
Yeah, pretty much. An attack on one is an attack on all of them, essentially. Which brings us to the climax, where Lady Penelope, in a kind of parody, I guess, of the modern cliche of tying a damsel in distress to train tracks. What do you tie her to when there's a monorail and there's no train track? Well, you just prop her up on something. Literally, she's tied up on this loose bit of track, and suspended with the hope that the monorail will just slide in and hit her. And of course, Gordon and Virgil come along and rescue her. And this massive gunfight takes place, all whilst hoping that the train doesn't come in time to hit Lady Penelope.
What's interesting about this episode is that Scott doesn't actually take part in this.
No, he's on what we imagine is holiday leave. So that was one thing I never noticed when I was a kid. I guess it's implied or established that the Tracy brothers each get a certain amount of leave time to go back to the mainland and do whatever it is they do.
Yeah, and also this is where you first see Gordon in action, because he hasn't actually been in Thunderbird 4 yet. We're supposed to get that soon. But here you see him, holding up him attacking the mad scientist with a gun. So this is kind of like a mad scientist story that reminded me of things like Goldfinger or The Spy Who Loved Me. There's obviously plenty of James Bond influence, even though I think only 2 or 3 James Bond movies had been made when Thunderbirds was made. But everyone to their own. Obviously, a lot of pulp spy thrillers were in this, and this is kind of good because it's nice to break in all the new characters who we haven't seen yet, and it's quite interesting how it ends with with Alan being the youngest of the group, and he's all alone, sitting in France at this table with Lady Penelope being serenaded by horrible music, and he's got to drink up his coke.
He hates it, doesn't he? He's just like...
And like all the other boys are down the casino, and because he's too young...
She's like, drink up your coke like a good boy, and he's just like, That's one thing I noticed as well. This episode, I think it's one of the early... It is episode 3, but it started making use of the puppet's different facial expressions. So, like, you'll see Jeff looking quite serious, and during the gunfight, Gordon's got quite a serious look on his face. Same with Virgil when he saves Penelope and he's holding her down and the train's going over. And Alan at the end got this grumpy face, just like, I'm being serenaded by fancy music.
My first night in Paris ever, and I get serenaded with gypsy music.
This goes to show that even though we kind of our initial response to explanation of Gordon in another video was he's like the comic relief. Well, in this we can see that he's also a badass too.
Yeah, that's it. I never expected it. Like, Perils of Penelope was one of the later episodes I watched, and up until that point, Gordon was very firmly established as the goofball one.
Yeah, because these episodes were never aired in the order that we've got them on the DVD.
Exactly.
I remember reading the original like made order in the complete book of Thunderbirds, and then it would say underneath the number in the sequence when it was aired at a particular date. So like for 1993, it was like this was like episode 9, and then 2001 it was like episode 12 or something.
Yeah, and obviously when they released them on video and DVD, they put them in the proper chronological order, I guess.
Well, I think the funniest part of this episode has to be when they're in the gas chamber, pretty much, and the Professor and Lady Penelope are stuck there, and they're trying to get out, and the guy's banging on the door saying, "Let us out! We're British!"
I say, open this door at once. We're British.
We're British, I do.
The British are coming.
I love the episodes that focus primarily on Lady Penelope and Parker, purely because they get to, like, you know, roll around in the Britishness of it. You know, they really get to parody the whole British nature of it. Like, there's a bit where he's distracting the waiter, and he's just like, I want to order what I want for breakfast tomorrow. I want some orange juice, I want a sausage, and some cereal with... Oh, no, he doesn't say sausage, but like, cereal with lots of sugar, and some bacon and eggs. It's very overly
British, yeah.
Stop this train! It's a testament to how, you know, we British do like to laugh at ourselves, I guess.
We do, because this is something that Jerry Anderson has done in a lot of his creations. Like, Captain Scarlet is the hero, he's British, and so are most of the people who do a lot of the heavy work. Because I think we were debating who the breakout character is of Thunderbirds, and we think it's either Brains or Parker, and Parker is obviously, you know, an old cockney, milady, and he's this reformed character.
The guy who puts all his H's in the wrong place, like... What would you like to order, Milady? That kind of...
Yeah, he's this reformed, badass guy.
Lord Parker's Holiday.
Yeah, we're going to get to that later.
Yeah, I've never seen that. That was an episode that I hadn't seen at all and never even heard of until I got the DVD. I was like, Lord Parker's Holiday.
Yeah. So yeah, at least we now know that, not all Thunderbird episodes revolve just around the formula of someone getting into trouble and needing to be rescued. It's like... They can have spies and murder mysteries, or just any kind of mystery, perhaps. Yeah,
a diverse show, and it's a formula that's repeated in like The Man from MI5 and The Cham Cham, that kind of industrial espionage, James Bond-esque spy thriller genre.
Well, just stay tuned, and who knows what the next episode might bring us. Next episode?
I'm not sure. You'll have to wait and see.
All right. Well, we'll see you then. Okay.
See you later.
FAB.